10 years ago, they humiliated him in front of everyone. They laughed at his ideas. They stole his work. And then they threw him out like he meant nothing. They believed they had buried him, but they were wrong, because years later, he came back, not as an employee, not as a beggar, not as a broken man. He came back as the man who now owned everything they once used to control. His name was Daniel. For 5 years, Daniel worked at a mid-sized technology company called Virion Systems. He was not the loudest person in the room. He was not the type to brag. He did not know how to play office politics. He simply worked. He arrived before everyone else. He stayed after everyone had gone home. He solved problems no one else wanted to solve. But in that company, hard work alone meant very little, because recognition did not go to the most capable person. It went to the most visible one. And Daniel had a manager named Marcus. Marcus loved praise. Marcus loved taking credit for things he did not build. And from the beginning, Marcus saw Daniel not as talent, but as a tool. One evening, after weeks of unpaid extra work, Daniel came up with an idea. It was more than just a small improvement. It was a complete strategy that could reduce costs, speed up production, and save one of the company's failing divisions. He worked on it in secret for days. He prepared reports. He built models. He tested assumptions. He made sure every detail was solid. Then he presented it to Marcus privately. Marcus listened in silence. No praise, no questions, no reaction, just one cold sentence. "We'll review it later." Daniel walked out, disappointed but still hopeful. He thought maybe his moment had finally come. He thought maybe this time someone would see his value. But a week later, during a company-wide executive meeting, Daniel sat frozen in his chair as Marcus stood in front of the room and presented Daniel's entire idea as his own. Slide after slide, Marcus explained the concept. The structure was the same. The numbers were the same. Even the wording was almost identical. And as executives nodded in approval, Daniel felt something inside him collapse. He looked around the room, hoping someone would notice. No one did, or maybe they did, and simply chose to stay quiet. At the end of the presentation, Marcus was applauded. He was congratulated. He was praised as a visionary. And Daniel was invisible. But the worst was still coming. 3 days later, he was called into human resources. No warning, no real explanation. Just a rehearsed corporate speech about declining performance, team compatibility, and organizational restructuring. In less than 15 minutes, his badge was deactivated, his laptop was taken, and he was escorted out of the building he had given 5 years of his life to. The weeks that followed were brutal. Daniel stopped answering calls. He avoided friends. He barely slept. Every rejection email felt like proof that maybe Marcus had been right about him all along. His savings began to disappear. His confidence disappeared even faster. Some nights he sat alone in his tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. What should he have said? What should he have done? Should he have fought back? Should he have exposed Marcus? But pain has a strange way of changing shape. If it stays inside long enough, it stops being weakness. It becomes fuel. And one night, after months of silence and humiliation, Daniel made a decision. If no one was ever going to give him a future, he would build one himself. The next morning, Daniel started over, not with investors, not with a perfect plan, not with support, just with skill, discipline, and anger sharpened into focus. He studied markets, he learned sales, he improved everything he had once underestimated about business. During the day, he freelanced to survive. At night, he built his own platform. The first version failed, then the second one failed too. After that came months of technical problems, clients who disappeared, broken partnerships, and moments where quitting felt reasonable. But Daniel had already lost too much to walk away again, so he kept going. Year after year, he became stronger, not just smarter, not just richer, stronger. He learned how people think. He learned how companies rise. He learned how fragile power really is when it is built on ego instead of substance. And then, finally, everything changed. One contract became 3, 3 became 10, 10 became national expansion. The startup that almost nobody believed in slowly turned into a respected and profitable company. And Daniel, the man once treated like he was worthless, became known as one of the sharpest entrepreneurs in the industry. Then one morning, Daniel read something that made him stop. Virion Systems was collapsing. Bad leadership, internal corruption, poor decisions, lost clients. The company that once acted untouchable was now drowning in debt and preparing for a forced sale. Most people saw it as just another failed business story. Daniel saw something else. He saw a circle waiting to close. He did not react with rage. He did not call anyone. He simply contacted his legal team, reviewed the numbers, and made an offer, a serious one. Within weeks, the deal was signed, and just like that, Daniel became the new owner of the company that had once thrown him away. On the day he returned, the building looked smaller than he remembered. The same glass doors, the same lobby, the same silence hiding behind fake professionalism. Employees whispered as he walked through the halls. Some recognized him immediately. Others only knew him by reputation. Then he saw Marcus, older now, less confident, still dressed like authority had chosen him forever. For a brief second, the past stood between them. Marcus looked stunned. Daniel stopped in front of him and said only 4 words. "Do you remember me?" Marcus tried to speak, but nothing came out. Because for the first time in his life, he understood what real power looked like. Not borrowed power, not stolen credit, earned power. Daniel could have fired Marcus on the spot. No one would have questioned it. No one would have blamed him. But revenge is easy when anger is fresh. Justice is harder. So Daniel made a different choice. He looked Marcus in the eye and said, "I'm not going to do to you what you did to me. You'll keep your position for now. But this time, your value will be measured by your work, not by your performance in a meeting room." It was not mercy. It was something far more painful. Marcus would now live under the same standards he had once denied to others. And for the first time, he had nowhere to hide. Sometimes, the strongest revenge is not destruction. It is success so undeniable that the people who once humiliated you are forced to witness what they failed to see. They may steal your moment. They may wound your pride. They may push you out. But they do not get to decide how your story ends.